Hello and welcome back to Everything Tumbler Tutorials. My name is Rebecca Escott and today we're going to be working on a fall dirty pour themed tumbler. As you can see, I'm working with a 30 sublimated tumbler. Yes, I'm cheating. We've had a lot of rain in Florida, so moving on. I went ahead and taped it off to give me a perfect split for this design today, and I'm going to show you the paints that I'm going to be working with from Pop of Color, and this is Orange Slice, purple, and white for this dirty pour design today. So we're just going to go ahead and prop it up on the solo cup. And I do apologize in advance that this is going to be difficult for you guys to see the sides and how it's actually looking. I didn't quite think that part through when I was doing the recording process, but I promise you, as the video plays out, you will see the end result. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that our paints are really shaken up really well, and then we're going to go ahead and pour into the throwaway cup that you see before you, and you'll see that I kind of go back and forth with each pour. And I want you to know that I did not mix these paints with any mediums and or water. I'm literally going to pour them straight out of their own container. These paints were so easy to work with and was flawless for this design. You'll see that I go back and forth a couple of times, and you also want to make sure that you have more than enough paint. So I know a lot of people get freaked out about the waste, but I didn't have much waste, and you will see that in the upcoming clips. But you definitely want to make sure that you have more than enough simply to get along the entire side tumbler, or if you were doing an entire tumbler. You would not want to come short on your paints. So I'm going to take a popsicle stick and just kind of stir this just a little bit. You really don't want to stir because you wouldn't want it to get like an ugly color. So just a little bit. And once you've done that, you're ready to go ahead and pour. You'll notice that I try to focus on the white side of the tumbler because I don't want to waste any of this paint going over onto my painter's tape side. Normally I do not scrape the bottom of the tumbler, especially when I'm doing an entire cup, if you will, but because this is also like a chalk-like finish, I am happy that I did. Simply when I pulled the tape, there was a little bit of crack. So it's super important that when using this paint, just scrape off that bottom and keep it as thinned out as possible. If you have any sections in which paint doesn't seem to be getting in on your tumbler, just use your popsicle stick and kind of help it along just by scraping upward or downward, just helping it kind of guide into place. So once you finish with your dirty pour and everything on the tumbler is covered in paint, make sure you have this where it's going to stay for the next 24 hours because we are not going to pull that tape until this is completely dry. So this particular tutorial, I wanted to show you me removing it off the Solo Cup. I've gotten so many questions, and believe it or not, the paint does not stick to the Solo Cup like you would imagine. It comes right off, very, very simple. And then once that's removed, we're gonna go and slide that over, and we're gonna go ahead and remove the tape. And we're gonna do so very, very carefully. Once you have all of your painter's tape removed, now we're going to go ahead and check for any bleeds. The only bleed that I had was right here at the bottom where the curves are, or the grooves if you will, here at the bottom of the tumbler. And I'm just going to take a baby wipe and clean it right up. Okay, once we're all cleaned up, we're now ready to go ahead and glitter the back side. Now for this side, I am going to go ahead and use Mod Podge. We do not want to risk messing up any of that dirty pour. So I just put, as you can see, a ton in this throwaway because we can always put back into the container what we do not use. So applying the Mod Podge is fairly simple. As you can see, I went ahead and sped this section up just for you a little bit, and we're just going to apply it over this entire section and get ready for our glitter. I'm going to be using Angel Dust, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous mirror find from AB Designs for this design today. I really hope you are enjoying this video, and if so, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials coming soon. Once you're satisfied with your glitter coverage, we're going to go ahead and brush off that excess glitter that remains, and not to worry, it does not stick to the paint section at all. Once this dries, we're then going to go outside and we're going to seal the entire tumbler. I say the entire tumbler because you want to make sure that your paint side is sealed as well so that the epoxy does not repel. Once our clear seal is completely dry, we're going to come in with our first coat of epoxy. So for this first coat of epoxy, I am going to be using Fast Set from Counterculture DIY, and I'm going to be adding in Snow Caps additive from AB Designs just to give my paint side a little bit of sparkle. This tumbler actually took 2 coats of the Fast Set from Counterculture DIY before I could move into the designing process. As with any coats of epoxy, make sure you use your heat torch to pop any bubbles that you may or may not be able to see. So once your tumbler is completely dry, you're ready to move on to your designing process. For this tumbler and this design, I'm going to be using this really beautiful metallic purple from AB Designs. This nail tape comes in 3 different sizes, 1mm, 2mm, and a 3mm. For this project, I'm actually going to go with the 3mm. Now for this particular design, I only wanted to make 2 cuts. So I went from one side at the top and warped it all the way around the bottom and rubbed it really well into those grooves, which you'll see. So I did not put a slice down at the bottom at all. Here you'll notice that I'm spending a little bit of extra time because I really want to make sure these are in those grooves really, really well. And this will help preventing any lifts when we go to epoxy. Once we're pretty satisfied with that, we're going to go right up the other side in the line that we've already created for ourselves. Now we can go ahead and use our craft tool to trim the rims. I have done several different dirty pours, but this one by far I think is my favorite. Please let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of this dirty pour? And now, as you can see, we have one continuous pinstripe. I absolutely love the way this pulls the entire tumbler together. It's absolutely stunning. Now it's time to go ahead and do our clear cast decal. I'm going to be using a beautiful fall decal from AB Designs. Again, this is a clear cast. So you want to make sure when you place these clear cast decals that you are placing it on a non-sanded epoxy surface. As with all my decals, I typically eyeball it and I start from the center and work my way out. So for this coat of epoxy, I am going to be using Fast Set from Counterculture DIY. This tumbler only took one final coat of epoxy, in which I used the Artist Resin from Counterculture DIY. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to find us on Facebook at Everything Tumbler Tutorials for continued learning. Remember, all links will be in the description for you below. As a reminder, after each coat of epoxy, make sure you use your heat torch to pop any bubbles that you may or may not be able to see.